Hello. White. Geisha Gusquat Gaviniskis. Tense, Teneshi Oki. Bonjour. Bonjour, hola. Hello, hello, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here in what is our sort of transition from winter to spring. We're on this turning point, although it had been spring for weeks here and then it snowed yesterday. So I don't know what's happening. But what I do know is happening is we're here to celebrate some of the most phenomenal authors, creators, pedagogical folk, research folk, land-based learning folk that we know and are dear to our hearts. And so I'm going to dive in and get going. So we're here to have a free virtual celebration of outdoor learning books with feature authors of Indigenous and outdoor learning resources. And folks, I forgot to say, yes, friends are saying hello in the chat. Excellent, love that. Someone's found the react button. There's always one person that helps me out by just sending it out, sending us a little heart. So we can't see your faces because there's thousands of you that want to join. So you can find the react bar button on the bottom of your bar. It also might help you to use closed captions to engage more with the resource. The recording will always have those embedded, but you can find closed captions on that bar at the bottom of your screen again. It might be in the More button, which is a white circle with three white dots in it, and then you can find closed captions. And if the view is you want to change it up between looking at faces or the screen, or you can drag the bar between the slideshow and my face, you'll find it there. You find view in the top right of your bar, and that will help you to change that up if that feels good. Okay, we're diving in. And if you come here often, chatting you up. I don't know if that's a British term. I don't know if I'm also allowed to say that in this professional space, but hey, here we go. If you spend more time with us in these professional learning spaces over time, you will know that I'm always talking about what's coming next because we've recognized this is a ongoing work. It is heart and soul work. We are turning up for each other repeatedly, repetitively, and with intention and building this community of practice. And so we've done seasonal workshops for the last, I don't know, 5 years, right? We started this, it was just a whim of an idea when the old COVID kicked in, and we were like, how do we stay connected to people when we can't go into classrooms or we can't take people out on field trips or we're struggling in those physical learning spaces to be connected? And the online space exploded. And since then, we've been running these seasonal workshops, a few every season to spend time together. And now, with the busyness of the world and the way things are going, we just realize that it's really nice to have this repetitive rhythm, this coming together like once a month in order for us to connect. And so that's what we're moving forward with. So, hey, going forward from April 14th, friends, every second Tuesday of the month, you can find us right here. Same link. And if you go to outdoorlearning.com/event, you can sign up for all future workshops. So you can just get a little message. You can turn up if you want. You can just say no thanks if you want. You can watch a recording if you want. But we are just so grateful to have so many fantastic knowledge sharers with so many different focuses. I never know which one the plural of that is. Foci, thank you. With so many different foci and passion and place to share with you. And so this is just a little summary of what we've got coming up for the spring summer. We're going to be learning in the garden. We're going to talk about accessibility in outdoor learning. In June, we're going to talk about Indigenous perspectives on land-based education in and beyond the classroom. For the summer, we're going to talk about activities and resources for nature-based learning. So that might be also if you're into summer camp or recreational vibes, or it might be things to do with your family on your summer break. It's going to be very activity resource free, resource based. And in August, we're teaching about bird life, and we've got some phenomenal options for different ways to connect with bird life. Again, things you can do with your kids, things you can do with your families, and groups that you're connected with. So we really, really hope you'll continue learning with us, because in a world filled with challenging things, these things matter. Showing up matters. These moments of connection and collaboration and joy are the glue, I feel, that can keep us together. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And because it snowed, my land acknowledgement, I'm so grateful to be in tonight's territory, back on the place that is, you know, a chosen home, and a place that I gratefully found in my adulthood. And for the friends that accompany me there, not least the beavers that hide in this little beaver lake that hides behind here at this little cross country ski area. My beautiful friend Rosie there in the background, who won't mind me sharing. And I was thinking about this. It was the 8th, right? We're now 2 days late, but it was International Women's Day. Hooray! For all the women who contribute to this world. And we've got an all women lineup for you today. But I just am so grateful for the power of the feminine energy and grace and excellence of the women in my life. They came to me later, perhaps, but I guess the land. She is the initial woman, right? She's the initial holder of that. And so on International Women's Day, which was when this picture was taken, I spent it outside with the mother, and so grateful for that. And I also called my mother to celebrate that. But I've also had enormous teachings from women, from Shukwetakulu, which is where I'm also right through the centre of. Um, the Silk Okanagan and the Slaha. There are incredible women that have impacted my life from each of these 4 nations that call this place home to. And so, and it's been their home since time immemorial, long before folks visited. And so I am just want to share that before we go in. As you know, if you've come here again, you'll see this is coming up, but we've got loads of incredible courses. I'm so grateful to be hosting in April with the phenomenal Laura McLean, where we're going into social emotional learning. Math outdoors and gardening is happening right now. Later on, we'll have a year of nature activities. If you're a person who's planning for early childhood to grade 7 and needs activities seasonal, how do I take my kids outside consistently? Jacob Rodemer is going to take us. And the incredible Jessica Fong is going to teach us about seeing ourselves in nature and how we can make our outdoor learning spaces reflect the diversity of the life around us. And Lorna is here too. In June, we have Connecting Children to Nature through Indigenous Teachings, and her co-creator and collaborator, Sherelle Anderson, will join us as well. And if you're into forest schools, you're looking to develop or change or embed forest school practice, we also have a course for that in June too. So we hope you will join us. And it's like it's the end of this series. Let's get like a little bit weepy. But it's so lucky to have Rachel here, who is just the most phenomenal person to work with and brings joy to my life, both here and behind the screen.
Very much reciprocated. My name's Rachel. If we haven't met before, I'm the education program coordinator with Take Me Outside. This is my last workshop for a while because I am going on maternity leave. So as we're talking about, motherhood and connections to the land, like I am very much feeling that right now as I am nearing the end of my pregnancy. And I'm really grateful to be joining you all from Treaty 1 territory tonight in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is the original lands of the Anishinaabe, the Innuak, and the Dakota, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. And if you know anything about Manitoba, it's that we have a lot of water. We have so many bodies of water that run through our province, lakes, rivers. And so, as spring is kind of coming, I'm just reminded of both, the power of water when it freezes in the winter, but also, that at the end of winter, things melt and there's new potential and just like yes, big breath and a shifting of changes and a shifting of seasons. And so I'm really grateful to the Indigenous people who steward the lands and especially the waters of where I live, and continue to do so today. A few things from Take Me Outside that are upcoming. If you've if you've been here before, you've probably heard me share about our outdoor learning certification program. So far, we have had over 1,500 educators from around the world participate in this course. It's a really, really great and amazing tool for anyone who's looking to get started and extend their outdoor learning practice. There's so many great resources that have been developed by Jade and other amazing folks from the outdoor learning world to really make this course what it is. So it's a 30-hour asynchronous course. We also have it offered in French. And we just recently launched a early years version of this course as well that is designed specifically for ECE educators working with our youngest learners. So highly encourage you to check those out. The last thing I'm going to share tonight is just want to share that we have our educator wellness retreats. We have two that are open right now for registration, one happening in Saskatchewan and one happening in Ontario. And so these retreats are restorative gatherings where educators are encouraged to connect with nature and themselves, build community, and cultivate a renewed sense of teacher identity in order to support health and well-being. So we have retreats happening across Canada throughout 2026. Like I said, registration is currently open for two of those in Ontario and Saskatchewan, and so we really encourage you to check those out. You can join our mailing list to find out when a retreat is coming near you. And we hope to see you at one of these events in the future.
You know that when Take Me Outside's running an event, you know it's going to be just delightful. It's going to be the perfect mix of learning and relaxing and doing all the things. So hopefully you'll get involved. Okay, we're going to do a really quick uh, poll. Here we go. It should show up on your screen right now. So we're asking what kind of educator you are and where you're joining us from. And you will see that the place names are very heavily weighted towards Turtle Island, or what some people call North America. And but there is one little button at the bottom that says rest of the world. And then we would love for you to share in the chat if you're joining us from a country more far flung than our continent. But this helps us to understand who these workshops are showing up for, and or who's showing up for our workshops, and how we can show up for you better in the future. So a couple of hundred of us here, we'll just give it another few more seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, university educator, nice. We did put post-secondary in there, but we'll definitely we're going to expand on that with some of our resources coming up in the next year. If you're a post-secondary educator, we're really shining a light out there, so stay with us. Okay, it should be on your screen, friends, and maybe or survey on a toolbar for you, but I'm going to end it now. It's okay if you didn't find it. But oh, we've got a strong weighting towards early childhood educators today. But every kind of educator we could think of has shown up, and folks representing from across our continent too. And so each and every one of you matters. Every time you take your kids outside to learn, or you connect with the land, you are making a difference. And so we thank each and every one of you. And if you want support in making these differences, we have over 100 outdoor learning partners. I'm just going to click through them. But these folks might have resources, they might have funding, they might have place-specific ideas, they might have topic-specific ideas for you. And we are just so grateful to these organisations that believe in collaboration over competition and work together to uplift this work that we're all doing. So you should check out. Okay, and this is our incredible Director of Indigenous Learning, Jenna Jasek, who's not here tonight, but she's holding up the books that we're going to talk about tonight, and it was just such a cute picture. She's such a beautiful human inside and out. But to kick us off, to get things rolling, to get the goods incoming, I'm going to introduce Laura Payne, who is one of my greatest educators, mentors, and someone who's become a great friend through this work. I met you as you were doing professional development for our local Indigenous Friendship Society. I got the chance to accompany you just for a day on one of your Indigenous outdoor camps for youth and see the way that you and Sherelle build relationship and showcase reciprocity and offer just love and connection in all that you do. You, in addition to all the work you do with Rise Up Indigenous Wellness to support Indigenous folk, you have written books to help all folks connect into this work, Heartbeat of the Earth and Whispers of the Earth. And with that, I'll swap my share and say thank you so much for being here, Lorna.
Oh, thanks, Jam Jade, and for that beautiful intro, and Rachel for sharing all the offerings. Like such beautiful work going on out there. Um, I'm coming from in from Secwepemcúlecw, zooming in. So the unceded territory of the Secwepemc people in Salmon Arm, BC. To which I'm a guest. I'm a member of the Hackshaw Band Statliam Nation, but I've been a Indigenous educator here for many years, and yeah, excited to share a couple resources, and also I'm excited to be carrying on this partnership with the Outdoor Learning School and Store and Take Me Outside, and yeah, from there I'll maybe just kind of hop in. So the two books that I wanted to share today, Heartbeat of the Earth and Whispers of the Earth. And Heartbeat of the Earth came out of a need for more resources like this, like actual field activities for primary and elementary educators, and even ECE educators, that are field activities to link children to Indigenous teachings. So, ways to link to the land through some of our traditional teachings, but in a simple way that could be accessed. So, throughout Heartbeat of the Earth, there's a few different categories. We have there's a section around ceremony. There's sections around mindfulness and gratitude. And then a part that I call all my relations. So some things around the animal and plant people and water and Indigenous games. And so each of these areas each have examples and things that you might be able to do in your outdoor classroom or out in the field or near to water, and also have ways to weave in some of our teachings to the work that you're doing directly with students. So I had a couple pictures. I think Jade just popped one up. And in this first photo, this is at an outdoor camp we're having, and we're having just a fun game of deer, cliff, arrow. So it's almost like rock, paper, scissors, but an Indigenous version where you're moving around and on the land. And the reason for incorporating the games into the outdoor learning activities is that playful movement and laughter really is a way to incorporate our teachings too. It's opportunities to talk about the animals and observing animal traits, opportunities to talk about our ways of being on the land, and our ways of connecting with the plants and animal people, and our ways of even solving problems. Like I think of that often with younger students, that using the games as a way to peacefully solve something rather than rather than more difficult ways. So this is an example of that game that's in Heartbeat of the Earth. And then the next photo is just another one showing us a hunting game, and it's just hoops and blunt end arrows, but different size hoops are representing different animals, and the walkthrough on how to do some of these games is in the book. And you can see our students are having a lot of fun. They're hunting, bird hunting there, a little small hoop. And again, this is an opportunity not only for them to be safe and have a little bit of riskier play outside, also to talk about the movement of animal people and the observation skills and connecting to sensors and sensory and hand, eye, body movement and coordination. So there's so many little teachings embedded within. In terms of so in terms of that, just there's a whole a slew of other games inside Heartbeat of the Earth, as well as more like mindful practices and things that can be walked through simply. So the other book that I wanted to share is Whispers of the Earth. And Whispers of the Earth is more of a picture and a read beside book. So the next photo is one of the pages out of Whispers. And Whispers was came along because I was always hearing from in our community and from our elders lots of different traditional teachings that were nature indicators. So I know like the more technical term, like traditional ecological knowledge we might just call it ways of being or ways of knowing. So there was always these things that I grew up with. Like one of the ones that come to mind, and it's in there, is when the buttercups bloom, the spring salmon zoom. I always heard that because we were always watching for what was happening in nature. That would then when our food was coming in and when it would be big fishing time. So there's so many of these, and they're changing with as our environment changes. So I thought, what an opportunity to share some of these nature indicators or ways of knowing with children, and also to share the environmental changes and how these indicators are changing because of changes in our environment and what are we doing. So one of the earlier pages says a bear having less cubs might tell us that their diet has been affected by environmental stressors like pollution. And we have translations that my elder Carl Sam has added in the book in Uklamuks, and that's our Statlium language. And so, yes, so that photo and the artwork is done by Carla Joseph, and she's done a number of other books. She's just such a beautiful artist. So that page, and then just to kind of give a sample of another page, on this one we have a young child kind of cuddled up to a birch tree listening, and it says, "If you listen carefully in the spring, you can hear the sap running. When the sap is running, the birch tree is ready to share its bark." And one of the fun things we've done on our on the land camps in the spring is try to catch just the right time where the thinner bark trees are ready to for the sap is thawing and running in them. And we borrowed and gathered up some stethoscopes and use those to listen closely. And when you're lucky, sometimes you can hear it running. So it's really kind of a lovely way. And then one last sort of little example is the use of all of the bark. And I think did we have one more photo there, Jane? So this one's just has an example. Birch bark makes beautiful baskets and canoes. The birch tree also gives us a tasty syrup, and some translations. And we often, are able to bring in samples from our territory of different, like little mini birch bark canoes and our baskets. And we work with elders who do birch gathering. And we use the syrup in some of our little, like our natural teas with the young people. So it's sort of a jumping off place to go deeper into some of these topics, and to also have a little taste of what the knowledge is around, and even the teachings of that the tree is giving its bark and letting go of it, not that we're taking it. So yeah, so I hope that some of these little samples will give an idea of these two resources, and yeah, that they will have some use in your outdoor learning.
Thank you, Cook's Jam, Lorna. Thank you
Oh,
so much. I love
um,
those books. Dave said in the chat, the illustrations really help connect with nature. Like, he felt that
oh,
when he was looking at them. And I took your books up north. I was primarily in Cree territory, and the teachers were translating all of those different words that you had in the book in your Statlium. Um,
mhm.
Sorry, can you tell me how to say the language again?
Uklamuks.
Oklumux. Yeah, okay. It's the Statlium First Nation
Mhm.
Oklumux. And they were translating like birch and baskets into Cree and using that when they were using it. So it was like such a nice thing to take it across the country and have people connect with that and find those connections over space. So such a beautiful resource, both books. So much to learn there. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Cook's Jam, Jade. Cook's Jam for having me.
Always appreciate you so much and learn so much. It's a gift. Okay, we're going to roll right into our next wonderful guest here. And I have the incredible Laura McLean. The prolific writer you're becoming here, my dear. And I don't know where you fit it all in, being a full-time classroom teacher and consultant and running your business, Teach Outdoors, and featuring podcasts and running your own podcasts and writing all these incredible books. And the only thing that comes to mind is the passion of you believe so deeply in this work and the impact that it has, and I see that reflected in the way you speak about the children you work with, in the way that you talk to the educators through your resources. It's incredibly powerful to work with you and learn with you as well. And you've written a bunch of books. It just says Sitting with Nature, an Educator's Guide to Sit Spots here, but I know there's more, and I know you're going to talk about them all. But it is an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to take a second to share. Hopefully that all works. So hello, everybody. As Jade said, thank you so much for that intro. I'm Lauren McLean. I'm out in BC, and currently I'm teaching grade 2-3 part-time because I do a lot of this other stuff on my other days, quote unquote, off. So today I'm going to share, simple practice that has had a incredibly meaningful impact in my classroom, which is sit spots. I think, a lot of the time teachers do ask, how do we help students slow down when we take learning outdoors? Because we know it gets pretty energetic pretty quick, and I think that's wonderful, but we do need moments to pause and breathe and notice the world around us, and that's what sit spots do. They create that space. Oh, let's see if I can skip. There we go. So, outdoor learning can look like a lot of different things. On one hand, the kids are running around. Today, it was just snow play. We are knee deep in it right now. My arms are so sore from shoveling. We're full of energy, and that's great. That's what we want. And then we can also have the other side, that other picture there. A child quietly observing, they're sitting, they're noticing and wondering. Outdoor learning is all of that. It's exciting and busy and unpredictable, sometimes a little chaotic. And again, sit spots help create balance because it gives students and teachers too that moment to settle and notice and reflect and kind of press the pause button a little bit. So if you haven't heard of sit spots, I'll do this super quickly. It is a very simple core routine. It's a regular outdoor place that students choose and return to again and again. And as I said, it's this place for quiet observation. And it is about returning over time. So the same spot, different times of day, different seasons, different weather. And what happens when students return to that same spot week after week is absolutely beautiful. They start to see the patterns. They notice the seasonal changes. So the leaves are turning, or the frost is appearing, the ice is melting. Hopefully someday the birds are arriving back home. That time, the sit spot is becoming that place where the students grow in their curiosity, and that curiosity is often where the learning starts. Now, sort of the important thing that I want to emphasize, because as I said, I am a classroom teacher, sit spots are not something that I assess. As classroom teachers, we do live in this world of learning outcomes and rubrics and documenting everything. I get that, I do it too. But sit spots are different, and they are the space where students can reflect and slow down and build that relationship with the place that they're learning in. And from that place of noticing, then the deeper learning naturally begins to emerge. So I try to shift my mindset to, instead of thinking, how do I assess this? I think about how sit spots are about reflection, attention, and connection to place. And yes, we then elevate the use of sit spots to get to deeper learning. And so I'll show you that through this book. And this took 4 years to write. And teachers kept asking, how do I introduce sit spots? What do I say? How do I build the routine? And I realized that I had all of these prompts and reflections and structures that I had used with my students for years. And so I gathered them to create this guide to support teachers who want to be a bit more intentional with their reflections outside. So in the book, there are sit spot prompts. Obviously, there's some journaling ideas, there's routines and structures, so you know how to do this. Again, it doesn't have to look one way. And then reflection questions. So it's a resource that kind of takes the guesswork out of it and gives a bit of a framework and a structure that you are then going to adapt to your own class and to your own outdoor space. So a quick look at what's inside. You can see there's the table of contents with 20 weeks, thematic weeks of SitSpot prompts. So enough material for the entire year. And I'm just going to share with you, I shouldn't have favorites, but I definitely do. It's birds. I love birds. I'm wearing my little chickadee earrings. And so at the bottom of this birds chapter, you can see there's 3 main questions. And for us in BC, this is very much tied to core competencies curriculum. So communication, personal and social development, and thinking. But no matter where you're living, these are key learning skills that you can ask your students to use as a self-reflection or even just as an inquiry in some cases. So this
Lovely.
next page gives you sort of a general overview of why I think birding is so awesome and important, how to start, and how it connects to all different areas of the curriculum. And then we kind of get into the good stuff. So on the next page there's 5 days of SitSpot prompts for kids. And each day I give you the prompt and then an example of how I might introduce it to my students. So one day is about bird language, and the prompt there says, take off my glasses. What stories do you think the birds are speaking? And then this is how I would introduce it. I would say, as you sit and listen to the bird calls, pay attention to the small details of their song. Notice the different tones of voice and tempos. Do you think it's a happy song or a song to signal danger? Consider what they might be saying to each other, the unique language they use to convey messages. And I love this one so much because it invites so much imagination and observation and empathy all at once. So they're not just hearing about birds, but they're really listening, like when I'm listening to a friend tell a story. And then this is sort of where you get a better idea of the flow of our outdoor time, at least if we have an hour outside. So I give an example of a picture book for the birds, and then we've got activities for younger learners leading into older learners. So you've naturally got some scaffolding in the activities there. An example for a circle reflection. So for this one, I've said, what is something interesting you learned about birds today? Did you find any similarities or differences between the birds that you saw? And then we head to our sit spot after we've had time to reflect. And so again, this one is about bird movement. So I've posed the question, what does bird movement tell us about the environment? And then lastly, I give a bit of a formative assessment question. Again, as I said, I am a public school teacher and I'm really passionate about documenting our journey outside, but I do keep it very simple and observational focused, not about grades. It's about noticing growth. So here I've said, are the learners able to demonstrate knowledge about a local bird? Now that could be about through listening to their discussions, through the circle reflection, or maybe if I'm asking them to document in their nature journals. So this rhythm, the picture book, activity, circle reflection, and sit spot, this for me has led to a lot of predictability for my learners outdoors. And that predictability helps my students feel really safe, which is when I feel they're able to take a bit more risks in their learning and teaching. Now, this is sort of my extra little nugget that I wanted to share because I know this is also up on OLS website. I co-wrote this most recent book with my childhood friend, Kelly Shudo, who is also a kindergarten teacher. All the characters in this book have been inspired by students that both Kelly and I have taught. So I'm only going to share a couple pages here for you. It's called What Does It Mean to Care About Nature? So I already read that one part. What does it mean to care about nature? And at the bottom, each page has an inquiry question in a little bubble, and you can use those as their own separate inquiries. So it says, as creatures wake up, what clues, sounds, smells, or feelings tell them that the day is beginning? Does caring about nature mean tracking salmon each year? And then again, the inquiry question at the bottom is, why is it important to track salmon or other animals and their movement each year? Does caring about nature mean cleaning up pollution on the beach? And the inquiry question at the bottom is, how can we enjoy the beaches and also leave our environment the way we found it? Now, we tried to keep these questions open-ended enough that there's not really a wrong or a right, but it really promotes a lot of discussion. And again, because we're both teachers, we had at the back of the book some educational information to dig a bit deeper, but also some discussion questions that after you're done reading the book, you can pose those to your students to have another reflection. All right, so closing thoughts. Hopefully, I'm not going too much overtime. This is sort of what I wanted to leave everybody with, is that sit spots give something rare to students. It gives them time to notice, time to breathe, time to wonder. And in our busy school days or busy lives, really, students don't often get the time to simply sit and notice the world around them. And it's beautiful that sit spots can offer that pause. And as I said at the beginning, that pause is where the curiosity really grows and our observations can deepen. So thank you so much for being here today. I apologize if I talk loud, quickly because I just get so excited. So happy outdoor learning and playing, everybody. Happy noticing, and thanks so much.
So beautiful, Lauren. And I just have to shout out that little mini watercolor kit that was in the tin. What are the mints called? Why am I
Should I
losing?
Altoids? Should I
Altoids, yeah, Sonia
share again
Rokosh is
quickly?
here. They're going to be available soon at some point. Look, this is a tiny little ceramic palette
Okay.
inside an Altoid tin, and you
Yeah,
can fit everything in. There's just a watercolor brush you fill with water. I know Sonia's here, so I just want to shout out that she's
yeah.
creating those and that you're using them. That's beautiful.
Oh, we
And
use it.
folks, I'm really sorry, Lauren, but your images were a bit blurry. I thought it was just me,
Oh,
but we couldn't really read things. So I hope it's okay. The image that's on the website of that birds page that is available on the website, I've just put that in the chat, everyone, so you should be able to see it there. It's very beautifully articulated. All of the things are the images are really high quality. I just, for some reason, it didn't show up well today. So sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but
oh, I'm so
just to let
sorry,
you know
everybody.
all of those images are very crisp and clean in the real world. But you are phenomenal. Your resource is exceptional. All of them. I use them all very, very frequently. And I'm very grateful that you got to share with us again today. And you can join Lauren and I to talk about SEL and how you can implement sit spots more. Because someone asked the question of how do I do this with grade 1s to 7s? Well, it's A, it's in the book. B, you could join us for ICL course and learn all about that and some of those other core routines. Just plugging it, just throwing it in there because we have a good time together and we love it. Okay, and it's last but certainly most not least. I have three other incredible educators and folks, and like these again, I could read this very long formal bio, but we have Dr. Gillian Judson, Dr. Michelle McKay, and Clara Redford. I first got to know you when we did this sort of spring tips, right? This was us learning about teaching imagination in place, and this course of connecting. Of Gillian bringing together all these different educators with these different expertise to talk about tools, these cognitive tools that help us explore imagination through a walking curriculum. And then y'all came together to create this version for the early years, which is, I'm doing so many Strong Start programs in my community, and it's just connecting people and the parents that are there, and people are just loving it. Um, Three people who, again, embody the work they do, are such authentic and caring humans, and it resonates, but it does not take away from the absolute intellectual and rigorous knowledge and research that's gone into cultivating these ways of being and putting it out there in the world. You have such a deep respect for other ways of knowing and being as well, in the way you've written this and explored it. And so I'm very, very grateful that you get to share with some of it with us today. Thank you all three for being here.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Gillian Judson. Clara's gonna pop up some slides for us today very quickly. I appreciate so much Jade at Outdoor Learning Store, Take Me Outside, for giving us this opportunity to celebrate some of what we've been doing. And I want to emphasize that this is work that's long in the making. I began studying the role of imagination in our intellectual development 22 years ago, and it's been a labor of love. during my doctoral work, I definitely honed in on the role of imagination in outdoor learning and really trying to understand how our engagements in the world, the natural world, and how our engagements in worlds of language through orality and literacy profoundly shape our imagination, but they profoundly shape how we make sense of our world. And so, if you could change the slide, please, Clara. Imaginative ecological education is a broad theoretical approach to understanding the ways in which our imaginations engage in the world around us and how they can be employed to cultivate a sense of connection to the natural world. And that was the beginning of my research back in 2004. Oh my goodness. Is around how do we cultivate that sense of care and connection to the natural world in urban places. I worked in high school teacher originally. Now, in fact, yes, I am a assistant, hopefully soon associate professor at Simon Fraser University. And so what sort of runs through all of the resources that I'm really grateful to share through the Outdoor Learning Store and what connects the work I do with what I've done with Clara and Michelle is the very practical way in which we can apply these theories and conceptions of imagination. If anybody studied Vygotsky back in the day, then you're onto something. And just show how we can really profoundly intentionally cultivate imagination in our youngest learners in right through post-secondary. And so in the work that you'll see on the Outdoor Learning Store website is this language around cognitive tools. And it's an attempt to take something that has been considered very frivolous and fanciful, this idea of imagination, and really ground it and show how it can be cultivated and how we can do a better job of developing it in all of our learners from pre-K all the way through post-secondary. And at the heart of the work is the real acknowledgement we need to bring feeling back into the center of our practice. Because when we engage emotion, we engage imagination. So how do we cultivate learning so that students are envisioning the possible in all things? That's at the heart of all the work we're offering. And this is what brought us together. I started publishing, I guess, soon after I finished my doctoral work, and we have a few of my books available through the Outdoor Learning Store, all on this idea of imagination. But it was an aspect of that work that brought Michelle and Clara and I together in our latest endeavor. And so just wanted to frame the bigger, broader ideas around imaginative ecological education. There's tons of work available through websites, all freely available, but we do have some books as well. So if you could change the slide for me. The book on the left is available through the Outdoor Learning Store. It was an attempt to consider how do we teach kids to read outdoors, fully outdoors. It was part of my role in the development of the Outdoor Environmental School in Maple Ridge, which was a school originally that when it was being open had no walls. It still runs to this day. It has many enrolling classrooms, but how do we take the ideas of cultivating imagination and use them in a way that could in fact meet the objectives of the more traditional schools we think about? So that book was well received by people already doing outdoor learning, and there's a lot of elaboration of the theory and the practice in that book. But I still wasn't reaching the audience I really think I most want to reach are those educators that care about getting kids outside. They really want to do it, but they're not sure how to make that move and how to make the move in a way that foregrounds emotional and imaginative engagement. Because I would argue if we had much more time, there's no learning without that emotional and imaginative engagement. There's no long-term learning. So a walking curriculum was an attempt to say, how do we move learning outside with inquiry-focused walks, these ideas of using cognitive tools to really cement the learning. How do we do that? 5 different ways using social studies, language arts. It became a series of blogs posts, honestly. And that's where we first met. Michelle and I first met, is when that book, either when the blog version or when the first book came out in 2018. Really pleased that the book's now available in Italian. Oh, soon to be Italian. Oh, surprise. French, Spanish, and English. But it was, and then the art book came out on the right with a artist friend of mine on who lives near me here in Vancouver. But it was in about 2020 that Michelle, who was actively using these practices with her kindergarten students, and Clara, similarly doing that work, said, what if we work together to develop a resource for your young learners? So I'm going to pass the torch over to my awesome co-authors, but I wanted to first just sort of situate the walking practices in a fairly hefty history of theoretical work and research. So happy to talk about it at any time. Big super nerd. Going to pass it over to Michelle or Clara, whoever's next there.
Thanks, Jillian. And just as Jillian had mentioned, Claire and I are both educators that work in a school board just outside of Toronto in Ontario. And we had been doing this work in our classrooms and connected with Jillian because what do we know about the early years? Our K-2 or our preschool contexts are very specific. Our pedagogies are specific, our learners are specific in the context that we work. And so this resource that we wrote together really allowed us to do some of that rethinking when it comes to outdoor teaching and learning in the early years and respond to that early years context. Claire and I, our mission, our why is to come together in community with early years researchers, but educators. Sorry, it's 7:45 in Ontario, and we're feeling the time change a little bit. Early years educators to support people in practice. And so this book, we wrote it. There's 33 walks in it. Claire's going to share a little bit more about how these walks are structured, but it's really about how do we take learning that happens within the four walls of our classrooms, bring it outside into whatever context you work, urban, suburban, rural, and bring that learning to life through walking and through imaginative education in a responsive ways for our early learners.
I was really excited to see that the large majority of people here are from the early years. So yay, we're so happy that you're here and so happy that we're able to connect with you about the very special space that is the early years and how it truly is different from the other curriculum grades that run across our grade levels. What we did is, first of all, we wanted to make a much like a walking curriculum, Jillian's mentor book for us, her first walking curriculum book. We wanted to make it pocket size for you so that you can take this with you. It's not cumbersome. You can mark it up, you can check the pages, you can take it with you so that it's an easy resource for you to have on the go. We've also made sure that it's easy to use. As Michelle mentioned, there are 33 walks. They're not in any particular order. They're not meant for you to do them in any particular order, but they're meant for you to use them when you think that your learners are ready. You know your learners best. You know how they might engage with the particular walks. Each walk can be done in every season. It can be done again and again and again. And how beautiful to be able to notice changes throughout the seasons doing the same walk. Much like Lauren mentioned, slowing down and really noticing those changes that are occurring over time. So the way that the walks are structured, there's three parts, much like a three-part lesson would be. So we've got first of all, we've got the name of the walk. So the sample here is the motion walk, and there's always a cognitive tool. This is, as Jillian mentioned, how we engage imagination. The most important part of that walk is engaging that imagination part so that our students are feeling and thinking and connecting body, hearts, and minds through this whole process. We've got a minds on part where we suggest to you how you might begin establishing the ideas and the imaginative component of the walk. We might have some suggestions for you on developing understanding, background knowledge, vocabulary with your students. That's the minds on part. We have some suggestions for mentor texts for each walk. That might be something that you do during the minds on part. The next part is obviously the walk. We want you to get out. These walks, it's up to you. They can range for anywhere from literally 5 minutes, 10 minutes to 20 minutes or more, depending on your context. It can be on your school ground. It can literally in your kindergarten area. If you've got a little kindergarten area that's fenced, they can happen there as well. We've seen it in practice happening in those small areas. We suggest for you things to notice, how students can communicate their findings and wonders and learning with you. We've got suggestions for how you might document the students' findings and wonders and questions. The third part is the consolidation. So when you come back from the walk, how are you consolidating those conversations and findings that your students have had during the walk? This is a really important part. We want students to understand that the walk just doesn't stop, that the learning continues, and perhaps you will bring some of those wonders back into your classroom, and perhaps a big inquiry is going to start from one of those wonders that one or two of the children in your class had. Both Michelle and I have experienced that in the classroom where we've gone out on a walk and some of those wonders have come back and it's sparked a huge inquiry that's lasted months on end in our classrooms, which is so beautiful that that comes from the students and their connections to place. Then we offer a couple of extensions for play back in the classroom, or perhaps extensions for play. This can also be happening outside the classroom. We want students to really understand that the learning just doesn't happen in the four walls of the classroom. The learning happens everywhere, including our outdoor spaces.
And we just wanted to take a moment to share what this could look like in practice. So Claire and I have used this resource with kindergarten. Claire often uses it with grade 5 students. In varying contexts, but this is an example of the environmental print walk. So we went out into our community. You can do these walks on school grounds. You don't need to take students off of school property to do these, or off of the naturalized spaces that you have access to. We work in more urban areas. So we went on a walk and looked for environmental print. We documented those. We read some mentor texts, and these are a few examples along the left, with our students to build that understanding. Many of the students we work with are English language learners, and we're really working on digging deep and developing those oral language skills. And this walk for us holds a lot of significance because it allowed us to interrupt the narrative with students that they're not readers. And we talked about that, and we're able to build their identity around reading. We had printed these pictures, put them in our classroom library to create that book. And Claire is going to show a little bit more about what the extension of this walk looked like when we came back into the classroom to bridge those indoor and outdoor learning environments and extend the walking.
The kindergarten students in this class were so excited by what they had seen, and what they were learning along the way, vocabulary and understanding of what these signs meant, in their own lives personally, with their families when they're out walking, what it means to our community. And they wanted to build their own community. So we came back and they were engaged in this learning for a very long time. They built this beautiful interconnected road system, and we have very close to our school a naturalized space with water. You see that there's lots of blue there, there's green. They were able to use the sign, they made the signs, they're engaging in print, they're engaging in letter formation, perhaps sounds, first sounds and last sounds of letters, copying words. Eventually we got cars out. You'll notice that they've used Lego to build structures. So we're looking at 3D shapes and structures as well, engaging in this. The amount of conversations that went on here as well. It was beautiful to sit here as an educator and listen to students talk about all of the things and the learning that and the wonders that were brought back from our experiences during our walk.
And we
We
hope that, sorry,
Go
Clara,
ahead,
you go
Michelle.
ahead.
No, go ahead, Michelle.
Please stay connected with us via social media or email. We love to be in conversation and support and hear from people that are doing this work in their classrooms. So please do stay in touch. We love to hear from you. Jade, we'll turn it back over to
Absolutely
you.
amazing. Sorry, I was absorbing for a minute. But actually we did that same project that you had done, because I have seen you share, and we did it with recycled tubs as well, like salad boxes and yogurt tubs, and each child brought things and they got to build their city, and it went on even to like designing a city of the future of the things that matter to them, from a lovely and unlovely walk, and the things they wanted to see more of, and it just kept building and building. So like this work is just so it's so joyful and magical, but it's also deeply rooted in the world around them and the things that matter and that they see every day. So yeah, joy, joy, joy. Okay. Has anybody given us any questions, Rachel? I'm not sure. I haven't been checking because I've actually just been absorbed.
As I say, I haven't really seen many questions in the chat, and no one has used the Q&A feature, but we do have time for questions if folks want to use that little Q&A button at the bottom in your toolbar, and we can collect those questions and pass them on.
Excellent. Go ahead, friends, if anyone's doing that. And if not, what we might do is actually get people out on time for once, when we do the prizes. That's the thing. But what I will say again, so there's lots of links in the chat, but in your follow-up email, which will come by 12 p.m. Pacific tomorrow, they'll find your recording. You'll find the link to claim your certificate of attendance. You will find any of the resources that we've talked about and shared all there, so you can have it in one place. And we really, really hope, I'm going to show it. I'm going to put it up one more time, actually, just so that folks can see what's going on, that we have, we'll be coming together next on April 14th to talk about learning in the garden. So different gardening activities and curriculums that you can do, even if you don't have a school garden. Caveat that, even if you don't, and how you can do these things. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing Q&As. Oh, okay, let's do one question and maybe we'll see, because this is a really important one. Jennifer has asked, do you have any experience about bringing reticent colleagues on board? It's bringing people into the fold who might not want to go outside. Go, Gillian.
Hey, I can offer a little bit of an example because I'm doing a research project right now with professional learning for practicing teachers. And ultimately, unless the educator experiences that wonder or engagement for themselves, not that they're seeing the children engage, but if we can somehow use the practice with the educator, so they're like, wow, I feel different. I noticed something different. I felt more alive. I felt more awake, whatever it might be. So yeah, I have some strong thoughts about what outdoor learning for professional learning for our peers should look like, but it definitely needs to be providing an experience of engagement as well. So a lot of the ways we think about Pro D aren't going to cut it. Sitting in a gym, being talked at, it's not quite going to work. But also, people need to want to change. Anyway.
Invite them on a walk with you. We did that. We
Yes.
brought them on walks with us. They'd be like, we see you outside. What are you doing? Getting your steps in? No, come join us. See what we're doing. And we found a lot of buy-in by inviting people to walk with us as well. As Jillian mentioned, rethinking, right?
Right, Michelle. And for some of your walks, because I use both your books, like the early years and the walking curriculum, I will make like little posters and I put them in page protectors and I put them around on our walk in the morning. And sometimes I take pictures and then I would email them out as being like a little nudge, nudge. See, your turn. It's out there for you if you'd like. So trying to find different ways to come on.
Okay, and last final question is, someone's asked about suggestions to include students with different abilities, especially deaf and blind students. And I wonder if you explicitly talk about that within your texts.
I can take that for our team. We have structured the walks in a way that it's responsive to the environments in which you work. We don't have anything specific in the book outlining for a specific population. Actually, work in our special education department at the school board. And so I feel like reaching out to those people that support you as an educator and the students that you work with, and having conversations with families and students and the support teams about this is what we want to do. How can we make this possible? How can we work together if there is a potential barrier or challenge that we've encountered in terms of making sure everyone is included? And again, Claire and I both work with population like inclusive classrooms with a range of different learning needs. And I think just continuing to have conversations and problem solve to make sure that everyone is included. And I don't think we've encountered a barrier so far in a way that someone has not been able to engage. And again, this can be done on school property, in school grounds. So those same strategies we're using inside can transfer into outdoor spaces as well.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I was just going to add, Jade, thinking about neurodiversity and neurodiverse students and the drum and like some of the breathing strategies and drum work that we've done when working with children on the spectrum, and how, although it's not sort of directly written up in Heartbeat of the Earth, the outcomes are there so strong, even from using the drum to connect to the beat, to like sort of mimic facial expressions or understand what's going on inside and outside. So there's so many opportunities for that.
Oh, it's
And I
beautiful.
feel like there's also in some of your in some of the activities, there are things like where you follow the sound, right? So perhaps if we follow the sound, and perhaps then we follow in pairs, following touch, and one person follows the sound, or perhaps we're following scent, then scent trails. Like I've seen so many ways that you could adapt to feel inclusive in that space. But as always, folks, I will say, if you have great resources or you have questions, you can email us about anything accessibility@outdoorlearning.com, and we will do our absolute best both to make these spaces inclusive and to connect and communicate resources that are inclusive too, and how things can be adapted and transformed to include everyone.
Can I say one last thing, Jade? Is that
Please,
also if
Lauren, I
that
would
person
love you
wanted
to.
email, because I work closely with Dr. Shelley Moore. So I'm an outside pin, and I work on her team as like the inclusive lens for outdoor learning. So I'm always happy to email back and forth. I'm really good on email. Not good on obviously not doing PowerPoints that aren't blurry, but yeah, feel free to reach out.
Okay, beautiful people. It is absolutely a delight to get to spend time with all these magnificent women. Thank you, friends, for joining us tonight. Don't rush off just yet. I mean, presenters can. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.